Hey everybody! So today I'm going to talk about series that I have read and series that I have started and not really finished, or series that I have completed and loved, and just kind of getting the word out there for some maybe lesser known book series. So to start things off, I'm going to go with a classic. I think it's the first series I ever read and completed because it was just so darn good. And I think we can all agree this is Harry Potter. I think Harry Potter was the first actual book that I ever finished, mainly because when I was younger, I struggled with OCD and it was really hard to read. I just kept getting distracted all the time. But Harry Potter was one book that just kept my interest peaked, and it really helped me to move on to other books as well, books like it or books that other people have recommended just based off of the genre. I don't know, it was just a very quick read and it didn't distract me with a lot of flowery language, which is what I enjoy in any book, with just enough description but not enough to distract the readers. That was definitely a series that I love, and I'm planning to reread it soon. The second series that I want to talk about, the Hourglass Door series. Not really sure if that's what it's called. It's just that's what the title of the first book is. It's by Lisa Mangum, and she came out with 3 books in that series. And so far, I'm in the middle of the Golden Spiral. It's the second one. The first book I loved. I whizzed through it. Second one's kind of getting harder to get into, mainly because they kind of keep hopping back and forth between the two main characters and where they're at right now, because they're both not in the same area. I want to try and describe it without giving away too many spoilers. But for anybody who loves time travel, this is a really good book. I think I found it in the clearance section of Deseret Book 10 years ago, but it's still a book that I'm still trying to read as far as the second one's concerned. We'll see what happens. I really want to read the third one, so hopefully I can get through the second one okay. Another series that I do want to put on here is Twilight. I find it my lot in life to be inspired to read certain books when I see the movies coming out. And I don't want to watch the movie and not have a book to compare it to, especially when there's all those diehard book fans out there. I think the same thing happened with Harry Potter, actually. I knew the movie was coming out, and so I was really determined to read that, and I think that's really what helped me read it. But the same happened with Hunger Games. For Twilight, I think I zoomed through all 4 when I heard that maybe the first movie was coming out, and it was the fastest I've ever read anything. And like, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm comparing it to Harry Potter, but like Harry Potter, it doesn't have too much flowery language, which is very nice. It just became a quick read for me. I was at the right age of the teenage girls who wanted a vampire boyfriend. I myself didn't want a vampire boyfriend, but that whole romance aspect it's one to pull you in and keep you interested. That's another one that I finished, and I actually liked the books at the time. I think all the hype that's going over, and all of the spin-offs of different vampire love genre has just kind of soiled it, along with the really sad excuses for movies. I did like the first movie, not gonna lie, maybe because it wasn't as hyped up as much, but the others, yeah, we've all seen them. Anyway, branching off of that, Hunger Games was another series that I read really quickly. It was a read that really helped me, I think, branch out of my genre likes. I'm really into historical fiction. I'm really into, like I said, time travel. The fact that a new dystopian genre had entered my view was really different for me, and it helped me kind of see what other dystopian genre was out there. I read Unwind. I don't think I finished the first book, but mainly because there was a deadline approaching, but I read most of it and I really want to finish it, and I actually bought the 3 other books that are included in the series. I think there's 3 others, and I just kind of want to finish it and kind of see how that world building occurs. Kind of branching off of Unwind, I also read the book Never Let Me Go, which is another dystopian world, but it's based around the themes that are involved in Unwind regarding organ harvesting. Never Let Me Go is a classic. I think it was in a world literature course I was in, and it's kind of goes down along those lines. I actually liked that book. I think it's the only one. It's not in a series, so I don't know why I'm talking about it in this one. But getting back onto topic of the series that I like or have read or recommend or don't recommend, The one that I read, I think most recently, was Philippa Gregory's Order of Darkness series. Now, this series is one mainly because I really liked the cover art, to be honest. I think I have a whole list of that on my blog of books I bought just for cover art, if anybody cares about that. I loved the first book. I loved it. It was awesome. It had characters you could really latch onto. It had elements of mystery along with historical fiction in the medieval era, which is one I love to read about within reason. And there was a lot of, they each had their own kind of different way of dealing with the certain issues that were surrounding them. And kind of the main plot is these group of kids kind of all come together. The main character and her servant go to kind of steal back her land and try and regain her birthright to her father's kingdom. And along the way, they meet Luca, who is a novice in training, but he is specifically part of this group called the Order of Darkness, which is where they snuff out kind of dark things that are going on, like dark mysteries that no one can kind of explain. I guess the main plot is to try and discover what evil's going on in the world and use religion and the power of God to get rid of it. And I kind of liked this idea of it, mainly because, I also like Christian fiction as well. However, moving on throughout the story, I mean, they run into different historical things that happen, like the dancing sickness, I think, that occurred in the medieval era. Their children's children's pilgrim progress that occurred during the time of the 1300s, and then just mainly going to Italy to figure out alchemy and how people were learning how to melt metals, which I thought was kind of a boring book of the series. But anyway, so the first one was good. The second one was good. The third one, it was the gold one, and they were just talking about melting gold and creating things, and anyway. And then the fourth one was the one that really disappointed me. I was looking forward to it for so long. It seemed like there wasn't really a plot. Things were just happening, and a couple of the characters that I didn't want to get together kind of got together, and I was like, no. I mean, if you guys were rooting for them, great. You can go ahead and read it and enjoy it, but I was kind of disappointed. Kind of let me down in that front, but I really liked at the end about how they kind of tied in the community of Jews they were with to what kind of foreshadow what happened with the Holocaust, which was very interesting. It was kind of put as an afterthought, though. I was kind of sad, but I hope that if they do continue the books, they develop that a little better. But I don't know if I'll read if another one comes out. I don't know. We'll see what happens, what mood I'm in. One that I also wanted to talk about is the Fallen series. I think I spoiled this one for myself mainly because I watched the movie first, the Fallen movie, and I loved it. I loved the way it was acted. I loved the way it was portrayed. Jeremy, what's his face? He's really cute, so I watched it. But then I wanted to read the book and see how close it was to the movie and whether or not I'd like it. And the book was okay. I mean, there were certain aspects of it that were different from the movie that I liked better in the movie. But I continued to read through the series. I got through Passion. I didn't read the last one, mainly because of where the story was going, and I didn't like the way the story was going. You might like where the story's going, but I didn't. Anyway, it's mainly about a fallen angel who falls in love with a human, and throughout the book Passion, the third one, she's trying to figure out why he's in love with her, because she doesn't remember anything that happened in the premortal life, but he does, and he's just saying how much he loves her. She's trying to figure out why the heck he does. I mean, she has feelings for him too. She has certain memories of how she felt about him, but she just wasn't figuring it out. I wasn't figuring it out. She kept traveling back in time in the third one, spoiler alert, to her previous lives, because she keeps getting reincarnated, so that because I think every time they kiss or something, she like dies, and so she needs to be reborn again and again every 17 years, and he still has to fall in love with her every 17 years. It's I guess a romantic thought, but it doesn't really pan out on paper. If you're into that fallen angel stuff, you might like it, but I don't know. It was a nice idea, but I just don't really like how it was executed. No offense to the author. To finish things off, on a lighter note, there's the Cahira O'Connor series, which I love for anybody who is into Christian historical fiction. And this I got, you could tell it was on sale, and I liked the cover, and I read the back, and I'm like, oh, this looks fun. So mainly this is about a girl who you could see she kind of has piebaldness, which is where she has like a white streak of in her red hair, and she's doing her family history. It's a girl in present day who's doing this, and she's doing her family history, trying to discover, if anybody else in her family had this condition. And then she realizes that they do, and the women who do have really interesting stories to tell about standing up for justice, standing up for their rights as women in times when women are kind of looked down upon, and how they act in defense of God and their country and what they believe in. And it's a very interesting read. I love the historical fiction aspect, as stated before. The first one is about an ancestor who disguises herself as a knight to go and fight in war in the medieval era, and how she runs into different historical figures like Jan Hus and other people who are trying to get the public the word of God in English, I think, or I think it was in Prague, so maybe it wasn't in English. It was pretty neat. The second one, The Golden Cross, is about her ancestor who boards a ship. I don't think it's a pirate ship. She goes on a quest to figure out who she is, but she also disguises as a man in that one. And you kind of discover her adventures in finding love and herself and her religion. Third one, The Velvet Shadow. The ancestor in this one disguises herself as a Civil War soldier, and she's also a doctor, so it's kind of interesting to read her adventures in that one. And then in the fourth one, we learn more about our main protagonist in the present day, who is continuing her research, but she ends up going to Ireland to discover more about her family history and meet somebody who helps her along the way. And they discover more about the main ancestor of the Cahira O'Connor, because we just get a little glimpse of her at the beginning of the series. We get to read more about her and her vow to uphold the virtues of Christianity and help her descendants, her women descendants, do so as well. So it's a very interesting read. I recommend it to anybody who likes Christian historical fiction or just anybody who wants to read it.
FYI, this series may seem a bit dated, mainly because it was published in the years 1998 to 1999. However, it does still deal with some tropes that are still relevant to readers today, which is why I still recommend it.
So those are my series that I wanted to discuss, recommend or not recommend, or just how I felt about them in general. If you're wanting more feedback on that, feel free to subscribe to my channel if you care. If not, it was nice discussing these books with you. I hope that I hear maybe some comments from you, questions, or any book recommendations that you might have. Thank you very much for joining me.